going to be doing an overview on the DTonomy platform, the DTonomy automation platform with the phishing example. So this is what it would look like at the end. Phishing investigation using the phishing investigation playbook, and we're going to create a new one to look at the process. It's going to call it phishing example. And then here on the left side, you will select the phishing investigation. So this is pre-populated with all the configurations. But if you didn't have it already, you would just select it and then configure all of these. So for example, email. Right here, you would select your user ID and then your application password, not your user name password, but configure a application specific password. That's what you would put in here. Name your folder, DTonomy. Documentation says to mark it as red, and then your criteria is all. That's for email. For URL scan, you would have your server here, your API key. And same thing with virus total, you'd have your API key here, and it's looking for URLs within your emails, as is URL scan. Abuse IDP here, you'd give it your API key, and then it's looking for IPs within your email. And hybrid analysis, which is looking for attachments within your email. So same thing, you would put in your API key here. One of the most important pieces here is the debug, since in order to know if something is working or if you missed a step, the debug section will tell you. So check the debug window so that when you run the playbook, it'll give you messages, either error messages or success. So we're going to go ahead. Let's take a look before we run this. Take a look at the documentation. Here we go. So this documentation will walk you through what we just went over in the overview. In the editor, one thing that's helped me is to kind of zoom out in the editor, because sometimes you won't be able to see all the nodes when you're in there. And then it walks through all the steps that I talked about, how you have to configure your application password, not the username password, set your folder to DTonomy, and mark red. Your disposition is marked red. Here is the editor, and like I said, sometimes, at least how I've seen it, I've had to zoom out just so I could see all the nodes within the playbook. Let's go ahead and run this right here on the trigger node, and you'll see how it's processing. Some of these will say done and some of them will say processing. Usually it takes a couple minutes to be complete. I'm going to click on the debug here. So let's see, clicking on debug here, and then right here you press this little arrow. I am in debug, and it explains to you what it's doing in the sidebar. But I'm going to click here on this this tab here, and it'll tell me what is happening. So looks to be good. This one's still processing. The virus total is still processing, but I'm not getting any errors. So that it's a good idea to keep this open, which will tell you if it's working or if there's a node that's missing within the playbook. So I'm just going to wait for this last one. Okay, done. And again, you see here, everything looks good within debug mode. Now let's go ahead and exit this. Minimize that, and I'm gonna exit that. Now we're gonna go to over here to our alerts. Hit a refresh, and you'll see these other emails have been picked up in the platform. So now we have these alerts that have kicked off thanks to the playbook, and it has done a lot of that contextualization for us as far as the URL checking, the file attachments. So that's how you would configure a playbook and run it, and then going here into the AIR platform to actually investigate the alerts.